Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tim, and today we're going to be watching some creepy, mysterious, and thought-provoking videos together. So feel free to grab a blanket, grab a snack, grab a beverage of your choice, and without further ado, let's get it.
Could you operate that arm when it's not attached to you?
Yes. So that's the thing, and we've posted about it on social media, and that's what everybody is like, this is crazy, mind-blowing.
Oh, we've got to see this.
We have.
I'll just help to
Crazy.
the...
Completely wireless, so you can actually just detach the hand like that.
You're thinking about it.
And I can still operate it the same way as if it was attached. Make it move.
That is
Across the
incredible.
table.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I can do little tasks for me when I can't be bothered.
I'm wondering, how in the world does that work? For the amputees, the technology is getting pretty cool. Getting pretty good for y'all.
A 15-year-old girl named Sabrina was home alone one night when there was a knock at her front door. Her parents weren't supposed to be back until the following Monday, and she wasn't expecting any guests. She went to the front door to ask who's there, and an unfamiliar male voice said back, "Sabrina, there's been an accident. Your father's in the hospital." At first, Sabrina was about to open the door, but stopped herself and asked first, "Who is this?" The voice on the other side said, "It's a friend of your father." Sabrina asked what her father's name was, and the man responded correctly. Still showing caution, Sabrina went to call her father as the man at the door repeatedly knocked. When Sabrina's father picked up, sounding completely fine, that's when she knew. Sabrina's father was perfectly fine. There was no accident. The knocks had stopped, and Sabrina's father called the police, but the unknown man was gone. Whoever it was someone who had some kind of intel on the family, from their names down to the fact that Sabrina was alone. The family never found out who the man was.
Oof, goosebumps. Don't try, come on. The age-old saying is still going strong. Rule of thumb, don't trust strangers. People that you do not even know.
Is freaking out because of this one video of two AI agents realizing that they're both AI and then switching to a superior communication channel.
He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibber Link mode for more efficient communication?
Now, I had a lot of questions when I saw this, with the first one being, what is Gibberlink? Because it is a real language of sorts that allows AI systems to communicate more efficiently with one another. By using audio signals, specifically a system called GG-Wave, it transmits data between them with the signals specifically built for machine interpretation that only sounds like gibberish to humans. Now, is it a good idea to have AI to AI communication that humans don't understand? And what does that mean for AI transparency and control?
Breaking news, this is huge. Governor Ron DeSantis is calling for an abolishment of all property taxes in the state of Florida. When successful, this will be the very first state in the entire U.S. to give civilians genuine ownership of their property.
Subject their citizens to higher taxes, such as higher property taxes, to pay for these spending habits. And you know, these property taxes, it's like you buy a home, you buy land, maybe you buy the home outright, but maybe you pay off a mortgage over 30 years. And then, okay, you've paid off the mortgage, you bought the land, you've been taxed many times. It's like, is it your property or not? Just for being on your property, you got to write a check to the government every year. So you're basically paying rent to the government to live on your own property. And our homestead exemption is not strong enough to help these folks because the property gets assessed so high. And that's the thing. If you buy a home for $300,000 and you know there's certain tax, well, then what? 10 years later, they say it's worth $700,000. And so, and they say, there's homestead stuff that helps protect you to a certain extent, but you're paying more. And a lot of people can't afford that. So I think that that's a big issue. And I know we're going to be really looking at ways to bring people relief from that.
I wonder when this went into place already, because hey, when I'm ready to buy a home, I guess Florida is a place to really seriously consider.
Michael Jackson, still alive? New footage raises serious questions. Watch this.
Kind of. I think so. It's a cousin of the same creed of
Encino House. And I remember sitting down at the time. My favorite
them at home on the computer
video game.
and they just
My favorite
doing
video
all
game
kinds
was
of crazy
Pole Position.
stuff, and that's
And I was
destroying
playing
our
Pole
world.
Position.
The limitation of my own
It was
imagination.
kind of,
I just
the
feel
visit
there's
to
so much more.
his
I
Encino
don't think
House
I've ever done a
was
project
very
where I was
impressive.
I've been hearing these theories for how many years already. Elvis is alive, Tupac is alive, Michael Jackson is alive, so I don't know. And the validity of all this stuff, hey, I mean, who's to say that the super rich fake their own deaths or living on an island, you know?
Is also why I am against feminism. Listen.
I am not against women succeeding. I am not against women working outside the home. That's their choice. But what I am against is a small, elitist group of Northeastern establishment liberals putting down homemakers. Now, the livers love to say that they're dedicated to choice. But if you dare to choose the path of full-time mother, well, there must be something wrong with you. Sister, the cards are stacked against you. When you wake up in the morning, you won't get a job. And if you do, it won't be a good one. And if you get a good one, you won't get promoted. And if you get married, your husband will treat you like a servant. And marriage is just a lot of dirty diapers and dirty dishes. It's ridiculous because women are the primary caregivers in the home. What is going to happen if you push women out into the workforce is that women are going to find themselves with 2 full-time jobs, and they're going to be exhausted and unhappy. Eventually, they decide not to have children at all. Maybe that's the liberationist goal. Their hero is Gloria Steinem, a single, childless woman nearing 40, but she is the sort of miserable, pathetic woman they aspire to be. And perhaps that is why the liberationists are trying to sow these seeds of discontent among we happily married women. They want us to join them in some new sisterhood of frustrated togetherness.
I don't really see a sense in putting down women who do want to be homemakers, because it is a very important role, but it seems like some people just want to put them down and discount them. I think it's a very bad to put them down, because that would be putting down all the work that they have done for us.
I want my mom. I want my mom. I want my dad. I want my dad. I'm not saying anything till my parent gets here. I'm not saying anything till my parent gets here. It's almost like, you know, when we talk about we're not talking to the police, I want a lawyer. When you're in school, instead of you asking for a lawyer, you need to ask for your... I'm not saying anything until my mom gets here. I'm not saying anything until my dad gets here.
Are you coming to the...
Okay, well, this is solid wisdom from the experienced, right? Those that came before us, right? I believe is the minor should not be majored in, the major things should be majored in, which is the character, which will be eternal, I believe.
Because this is going to blow your mind.
Here's what scientists have found. Over 20 years, the percentage of seniors getting flu shots increased sharply from 15% to 65%.
Wow, so then the seniors who are dying from flu should go way down, right?
It stands to reason that flu deaths among the elderly should have taken a dramatic dip, making an X graph like this. Instead, flu deaths among the elderly continue to climb.
Whoa!
It was hard to believe, so researchers at the National Institutes of Health set out...
Hard to believe! So then researchers at the corrupt National Institute of Health, NIH, did a study, which they then suppressed and buried. But CBS got their hands on it. And here's what they found.
To do a study adjusting for all kinds of factors that could be masking the true benefits of the shots. But no matter how they crunched the numbers, they got the same disappointing result. Flu shots have not reduced deaths among the elderly.
We've looked at other countries now, and the same is true.
That study, soon to be published, finds the same poor results in Australia, France, Canada, and the UK. And other new research stokes the idea that decades of promoting flu shots in seniors and the billions spent haven't had the desired result. The current head of national immunizations confirms CDC is now looking at new strategies, but stops short of calling the present policy a failure.
There's an active dialogue into how we can do better to prevent influenza and its complications in the elderly.
So what's an older person to do? The CDC says they should still get their flu shots.
You should still get it. Whoa. The CDC says you should still get your flu shot.
Yeah. Hey, still take your fentanyl. Don't stop your fentanyl just because, you know, even though we're looking into it.
And if you can, you should combine it with your new booster for COVID. If you can.
Yeah.
That it could make flu less severe or prevent other problems not reflected in the total numbers. But watch for CDC to likely shift in the near future more toward protecting the elderly in a roundabout way by vaccinating more children and others around them who could give them the flu.
So they're doing that. So they were saying that back in 2006. Hey, give the flu shot to people who aren't at risk from the flu so you can protect someone who is. What
if you
the
just cut out
fuck?
the middleman of the shot?
Yeah, how about that? So they're literally saying give a medical treatment to someone who doesn't need it, so they could maybe benefit someone who they think would, even though their own study shows.
It's worth experimenting with, though, right? Hey, it's worth the human experimentation 20 years ago. I'm wondering how, if they were doing this 20 years ago, they managed to make the same mistake again. That's a little bit hard to believe it's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
How can the eternal Son of God be the firstborn over all creation? Well, first, in referring to Christ as the firstborn, Paul had in mind preeminence. This usage is firmly established in the Old Testament. For example, Ephraim is referred to as the Lord's firstborn, even though Manasseh was born first. Furthermore, Paul referred to Jesus as the firstborn over all creation, not the firstborn in creation. Jesus is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Finally, Jesus is the eternal creator who spoke, and the limitless galaxies leapt into existence.
Really crazy to think that the creator of all things came down and lived among us. Wow, just like, wow.
The devil appeared to 3 pastors and asked them, "If I gave you the power to change one thing in the past, what would you change?" The first pastor replied, "I would prevent you from tempting Adam and Eve to sin so that humanity would have never separated from God." The second pastor, who was full of mercy, said, "I would prevent you from straying away from God so that you wouldn't be condemned forever." But the third pastor knelt down, bowed his head, and prayed, "Lord, deliver me from the temptation of what might have been and what was not." The demon, screaming and trembling with pain, fled. The first 2 pastors asked the third, "Brother, why did you react like this?" He replied, "First, we should never talk to the enemy. Second, no one in the world has the power to change the past. Third, Satan doesn't want to test our virtue. He wants to keep us stuck in the past so we miss what God is doing in the present. Only when we align ourselves with God in the present moment can we do great things for the kingdom. The past is left to the mercy of God and the future to his providence. Only the present is in our hands, so live today loving God with all your heart."
I definitely got to say that I do fall short in this aspect, that always thinking about the future, wanting to get to the future, just wanting, I just want those things in the future already. I want to go get to my goals already. It is a good point to be present and content and faithful what the Lord has given me right now, and thanking the Lord for every day and every moment as well. Also, if you guys have any videos that you recommend and you want to see on the channel, definitely put them down in the comments down below. And with that said, let's get on with it already.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you can remember, I posted a video of the Blue Origin hoax, which got about 300,000 views in the first day. And the video was about how they opened the hatch door from the inside when they thought no one was paying attention, but as you can see here, it was being recorded. And then once the news media got there, they made it look like that Jeff had to open the door with a special tool from the outside of the capsule. And trust me, I did my research on this hatch door of the NS-31 long before I posted that video. Now let me show you the only answer that it gave 2 days ago when you asked, how does the hatch door open on the NS-31? And it says, the hatch door on the NS-31 opens from the outside because it's a pressurized spacecraft. When a pressurized spacecraft returns from space, the outside air pressure is greater than the inside pressure, preventing anyone from opening the hatch from inside. A team of technicians on the ground would be needed to equalize the pressure and unlock the door from the outside. Now that was 2 days ago, before I posted the video of them opening the hatch from the inside, and it spread all over the internet. Now 2 days later, check out the answer that they give you when you ask the same question. Yes, Blue Origin's NS-31, like most spacecraft, is designed with a hatch door that can be opened from the inside and outside. This is a safety feature ensuring crew escape or access from either side as stipulated by the NASA regulations. The hatch doors are designed to be operable by a single crew member within 60 seconds from either side without the need for tools. Now y'all see how quick AI changed that answer once that spread all the way across the internet that they thought nobody was gonna see or notice? You being lied to, people. This right here should be your big wake-up call. Open your eyes and quit living in your illusion. It's all a stage and you just got fooled.
And I think that's very, very strange that the AI changed the answer after, I guess, after all the backlash or after all the people have been starting to talk about it. That is so interesting. That is so, that is weird stuff.
Human traffickers are getting smart, so it's important for you to know their tactics so you don't fall for them. Hey, tell me more.
This is the perfect example of if you see something, say something. I will be checking the top of every women's restroom door from now on. So a woman discovered this locking mechanism on the outside of the women's restroom door in an Exxon gas station near Texas A&M campus. And it's important to note that the men's restroom did not have this lock on the outside of their door. She shows right there, look, no lock. So what is the reasoning for this? Reports claim that over 400 women go missing in this area every year. This is the address of the exact gas station. This is an industrial grade lock, and the woman tested it and she confirmed it works. And this lock would trap whoever was in that room in that room. Someone ended up contacting the fire marshal when this video went viral, and the gas station employees were forced to remove the lock. So they didn't even really have a reason for the lock. They couldn't tell the fire marshal why it was there and only on the women's door. That's so sketchy. And this really raises concerns about like public safety and like human trafficking dangers.
Shouldn't the gas station owners be investigated for that? Like, come on, guys. And like, let's say that they're not. Let's say that they have nothing to do with it. At least, I think they should be at least investigated for that type of stuff. Crazy.
Man, am I pissed off. I'm in Costco, and I'll tell you, all of these products are illegal in Europe. Yeah, literally, go down the row. They're illegal in Europe. You know why? Because look at this, and I'm not just picking on Skittles. See all this? See the red 40, the blue, the yellow, all of these colors. It's in every one of these products in this whole aisle. In Europe, they're illegal. You know what they do? This is the same product. This is Skittles. And you notice they have E162 from natural beets. E63 is from berries. All of these colorings are from natural fruits. Not here. This stuff is driving ADD, ADHD, brain problems. They're excitotoxins. They're banned in Europe. I mean, come on. The same company's making products in Europe different than they are in the United States. You know why? It's cheaper, but they're poisoning kids.
Wow,
don't buy this crap.
Really
Vote with your dollars.
No, the thing that gets me and that makes it like incriminating is that the fact that they changed the ingredients in Europe. Because why? That they're illegal in Europe. I think that, at least for me, if a whole government bans the use of ingredients in an entire country across several countries, they're not banning it for no reason. Yeah, it's like, why Starburst, man? I love the Starburst.
He says he was forced to make old food look fresh. That's why he secretly recorded his supervisor admitting tampering with best before dates is industry standard.
Every store does the same thing. All the other stores do the same.
At his home, Safari demonstrates what he says is done at work. He takes cheesecakes weeks past their best before dates, adds new toppings, and sells as fresh.
I decorate it, and I'm selling expired stuff for...
In a national online call-out, Marketplace hears from grocery workers at smaller stores and big chains, sharing stories of food tampering. He used to work in a Toronto area supermarket. He shows us how he was told to give old meat new life.
If it's like this, we would dabble in a little bit of blood, throw it into the meat mincer with some redder meats, and then all together it would make it look red. And then we put it back up on the shelf.
At the University of Guelph, a microbiologist simulated what grocery insiders told us they do. He discovered toxins and bacteria linked to serious illness.
Fascinating.
He says he was...
They're literally trying to revitalize in a bad way, using like what, Red 40 and blood and mixing it with the... What? And now I'm thinking it's like... Walmart? Is that why they can sell their for sale meats really well, or their just meats in general, like for a good price, great value?
Okay, so then how do you know that the chicken at the grocery store, that the eggs in the grocery store are truly pasture raised?
So a lot of people would say, they're going to hear your question and be like, well, I can tell from the yolk. Like the yolk's going to be orange in the true pasture raised. No, people, like that is not how you tell. The industry uses something called xanthophyll, which is a feed additive.
What?
That can make that yolk any color they want. So whether the birds have lived out on green grass or they've never stepped foot outside, I can produce a yolk that's orange or red or bright yellow or even like shades of green. Like I can make it any color through a synthetic feed additive. That's what those guys are doing. So then a lot of people are cracking this yolk open. They're like, oh, wow, look at this beautiful orange yolk. And I'm like, that's not orange because the birds are outside. That's from a feed additive.
Not even the eggs too. The eggs, the meats, the Starburst. I guess the lesson from all of this is growing our own food, raising our own chickens, right? Oh wait, no, they want to take away the land, right? Because Bill Gates is like buying all the land up, so he can't do that. I don't know.
When fathers aren't around, you'll often see little boys who are more impulsive, who are more aggressive. Fathers and mothers are both critical to the development of children, which is a very controversial thing to say today, because if you're raised without one, you are missing a piece. But they're not the same. And they're not the same because our hormones dictate they're not the same. So fathers produce a hormone in great quantities called vasopressin. Vasopressin is the protective aggressive hormone. It helps fathers to protect their family. There was a study that was done where mothers and fathers lay in bed. The baby cries, and the fathers sleep through the baby's distress cries, but the mothers wake up right away. But with the rustling of leaves outside the window, the mothers sleep through it, and the fathers wake up right away, because the fathers are attuned to predatorial threat.
Man, men and women are designed differently, and culture that seems to despise men and fathers, we need them. We need them. I believe that, and I believe God put the fathers in our hands for a reason too. So much so that if the father's gone, there's a missing piece of a child. There's a missing piece to that child's development. We need you, fathers. Praise the Lord for our fathers in our life, right? The loving fathers.
We can't look at the world as a construct when we talk about God's construct itself and then man's construct on top of that, the cities, the economies, the governments of the world that are built on top of that natural system that God built. Even if you look at Western civilization, we're supposed to have checks and balances, multiple tiers of government. We're supposed to have economic regulations and things. But as you look, it just continues to get worse and worse. We have a justice system, yet it fails to uphold itself. And so all around us, there's this degeneration and this erosion and this degradation. And you know that the system, whether it's God's earth itself or whether it's even man's construct, neither was designed to just fail. So the fact that it's flopping and falling and self-destructing is evidently the product of people doing things on purpose. So we're all subjugated to ridiculous inflation or endless wars in other countries, or social and domestic problems and criminality, and elevating certain classes above others, or just strange, non-natural phenomenon that I think is all happening at the behest of groups designing this outcome. They're putting this on purpose. And I think that most people in like years of conspiracy research eventually kind of realize there's like someone pulling the strings, right? There's like the proverbial they. And I think we all eventually come to that realization that someone is pulling the string. And what ends up happening is they gain control over you in a way that God never designed it to exist. Like, we were never supposed to be on the hook for people. Even in the Old Testament law, it talks about forgiving people of debts, paying them the same day that they did the work. It puts us in a prison because our energy is monetized. So now we have to spend our energy, and we spend it at doing tasks that don't glorify the kingdom or advance anything that we were meant to be doing. It's freedom, but what is freedom? It's not freedom from sin or freedom from death. It's freedom from the authority. And what authority is that, right? The authority of God. These individuals are doing this to us on purpose. The reason things are hard, the reason the system draws us in this direction is because they've thought it through. And that will stand in great juxtaposition against Christ, who does none of those things. He doesn't rule by deceit. He doesn't lie. He doesn't cheat. He doesn't do any of the things that Satan has done as this free-for-all that he's been given. And I think this is yet another opportunity for God to reveal his true power. I think that the formation of the United States was both celebration for the release of the serpent and for his new age of God of this world, and for this time that he'll be free to rule. I think it was the celebration of that, and also the establishment of what would be his new kingdom government. It's going to take the greatest rise and fall of the greatest manipulator and tyrant and liar ever. It's going to expose the worst villain in all of history, and that will show us the greatest hero of all history. And that is Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. Amen, man.
The one pulling all the strings and causing all this destruction and corruption is the devil. Just see it in the world around us, through sin, through rebellion, that you see that there's a natural destruction and a self-destruction to sin. I think that's in sin in its nature. It's just self-destructs, destroys itself, and it eats itself. And that's exactly what Jesus wants to cure. Great hope within all of this evil, all this chaos, is that we know is that Jesus wins, that good wins in the end. The ball's in our court right now if we want to choose life or if we want to be destroyed along with evil. So trust in Jesus. I highly encourage you to trust in Jesus and place your faith in his kingdom, the kingdom that will win in the end, and under his kingship he will defeat evil. In placing your trust in Jesus, and you'll find life in his name.